The timeline changed in 2016. Something happened in 2016. It's like you can draw a line at that year. And everything before that line was the real world. And everything after the line is the fake world. It is as if the whole mood of everything changed overnight. The world became darker, bleaker, more hopeless. People started becoming angrier, more divided, started freaking out over the dumbest possible shit. Everything became unstable and you started seeing insane shit happening in the news like wars, pandemics, tyranny, censorship, extremism, which never happened at this rate before 2016. Think back to how life used to be even just a few years before. 2010 to 2015 felt like a completely different universe compared to post-2016. 2010 to 2015 felt like a fuller, more vivid, more real world, in which it was easier to make sense of everything that was going on in the world. Post-2016 just feels like chaos, and on top of that, it also just feels fundamentally fake. Every day I wake up and look at the news and read the headlines, and it just doesn't feel real anymore. It's as if in 2016, the real world ended, and instead we started chugging on in this simulation. But it's just like a Chinese knockoff version of Earth. It will never compare to the real Earth that we all know and remember from 2015 and earlier. What happened in 2016/X/? What caused all of this? Lots of psychics at this point have told me Hillary was supposed to win 2016. That Trump winning was a complete divergence of whatever was planned or supposed to happen. Pick related are posts from 2016. Something did happen. Some people point to Matthew 24:22 as a clue to what in terms of time running faster, and except those days should be shortened. There should no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sake those days shall be shortened.
I don't think you can. Some people say this has something to do with Revelation. I'm not really into the Bible, so I can't comment on that. You can go down that rabbit hole here. I do believe something though. I've always thought, and mostly still do, that the Mandela effect is mind tricks and faulty memory. However, when I was a child, I remember how I found it interesting that the Earth was on the Sagittarius arm of the galaxy and my sun is in Sagittarius. What a funny coincidence, I thought. I also remember how I was obsessed with the constellation of Orion for some reason. Later in life I planned to study astrophysics, but changed my mind at the last minute, not relevant. Nevertheless, up to my mid-20s I used to be a complete physics and astrophysics nerd. My point is, my knowledge of these things was not a passing knowledge. The Earth was on the Sagittarius arm of the galaxy, not on the Orion spur as it is now. This is the one Mandela effect I've experienced that I can't explain. Some people say we moved to this other Earth. Perhaps the old one was on the Sagittarius arm. When that transition is complete, the 0-point time will end, and you will appear in your new game zone, planet. You will look the same, think the same, feel the same. In fact, it will be just like you all had some mystical experience, and life will carry on as normal for you. Same houses, family situations, jobs, friends, lovers. Fuck. I did undergo something like that around 2016. Maybe it's something a lot of people had, but it's simply not talked about.
A political psychological operation began that has yet to end. Ironically, this is exactly what people felt when 2001 became 2002. But people got desensitized between 2002 and 2015 and forgot they were in a psychological operation. Based on this pattern, the world should start to slowly get weirdly cozier until 2029 when calamity should hit again. The sad fact is that nothing changed in 2016. It was just the same cycle that had happened over and over before. That's how history works. Nothing ever really changes. People have always been the way they are now. Certain factors might change, but it's the same human element. I don't even remember anything specific from 2016. For me, it was 4 years after the failed 2012 doomsday prophecy and 16 years after the Y2K doomsday. It also was 15 years after 9/11, which was the event that led to the most loss of civil liberties. So for those of us who lived through that, 2016 wasn't anything special. Yeah, a lot of significant life events happened for me in 2016. I know Anons aren't interested in my whole life story. So basically I ended up on a completely different path in life than I had expected starting that year. Also around the same time everyone I knew or tried to get to know except for 2 people started ghosting me for no apparent reason. Was ghosting even a thing before the 2010s? I'm in my 30s and I clearly remember people being a lot more sociable and honest about their feelings in the early 2000s. Now it's like everyone either keeps to themselves entirely, or they do have something to say, they're just upset about something or other. Even the last people I know have been acting weird and more distant. Not like they used to. And I'm just over here trying my best to enjoy my life. I stay off social media for all the reasons above. I think it's a part of what's wrong with people these days. Anyway, I would be interested in hearing what more people think of this.
They are trying to shift the universe. Of course they are. What did you think the Great Reset means? The cycle has been going on and on since infinity. The only way to break out is by finding the true timeline. Have you ever broke something to find it mysteriously repaired, or losing something out of thin air? They try to blame it on false memories, but the real reason is because of quantum immortality. We simply branch out into sets of possibilities. For example, there's a universe in which COVID never happened, and one where it did. We retain sometimes this information due to out-consciousness lapping with another timeline with a 999, recurring similarity to the own we reside. The elite want to do a merger of every single reality into one. Humans are the life essence of the universe, so in a sense, if they can control us, they could control the natural flow of dimensions. Hence, entropy. The false vacuum that we live in is a sign of an incomplete cycle or the end of one. At a hair trigger, it folds on itself, and we shift along the z-axis. This is how they win. How to defeat them is to end them, to make them shift to another reality, or put them into a dimensional prison. A fake world is more easier to control. The internet is an example of a fake and controlled world. This does not only happen in 2016. Confirmed. On January 1st, 2016, it seems that a totally different world began from December 31st, 2015, backwards. It is as if reality was given a strong varnish that stained absolutely everything false and only got worse with each passing year. Have you noticed how people can't find what the hell to talk about with others and pay attention to every insignificant thing to desperately make some topic of conversation that breaks the ruthless silence? Have you noticed how colorless and fake the world looks, even though technology has improved? Have you seen how irreparably disconnected people are from each other? How about we talk about how quickly time flies? And what about the rudeness with which each son of a bitch walks angry on 2 legs, believing that the world and other people owe them a favor? Before 2016, life and everything seemed more accessible and real. Now it can only be the post-credits of a horrible movie.
We entered the age of Aquarius around 2020 to 2021. Our current era is ruled by Saturn, meaning people are becoming more restricted in expression. The previous age of Pisces was ruled by Jupiter, where its expansive energies made people more reflective, more open to possibilities, more heart-centered. Saturn is all about imposing restrictions to deal with mundane material life. I wouldn't doubt if COVID-19 was a ritual to signify the changing of the guard. Mass conformity, the deterioration of art, the increase in business-mindedness. These are some of the changes reflective of the transition from the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius. The transition period could be said to have started circa 2012-2016. It's not all bad though. The first 1,000 or so years of the age of Aquarius is co-ruled by Venus, which is likely where the huge divide amongst people comes from. Venus is about love, pleasure, compassion, freedom, etc. So the population born with such predilections sense the changing of the guard and are opposed to restrictive Saturnization of culture. I sense a war of biblical proportions is on the horizon between those who value restriction, conformity, intellect, and materialism, WEF, Illuminati, our controllers and their droids, and those who value expansiveness, individuality, heart-centered consciousness, and spiritualism. Personally, I'm starting to think the fake world is all there is actually. Even when things appear to be nice, it's always fake. For example, Pic related La Belle Époque Paris World's Fair 1900 inches looks fake to me now. It's very pretty. Even too much pretty to be real. Another example. All I see is specular lighting. Bump mapping. Filters. It's CGI to me now. No kidding. If you try and search, how did they build that? Then it's much less detailed. And all you see is 2 or 3 builders max. On wooden ladders. Not realistic. Other changes to keep in mind. Exorcisms and demonic possessions are the highest that they have ever been, as per Catholic exorcists. The moon is faker than ever and NASA is desperately trying to keep everyone asleep on the issue. Psychedelic drug use is at unprecedented levels. LGBT is at unprecedented levels. Time speeding up phenomena. This one probably started 2012 TBH. Gray alien iconography at unprecedented levels. Raid Area 51 LOL. YouTube comments are increasingly unsettling and weird. Binaural beat / manifestation videos. The Grey Goop / Goyslop remakes of Lion King, Aladdin, etc. Fortnite. Something really sinister about this game that's hard to pinpoint. TikTok. Just lol. I could go on and on. The end result is everything becoming faker and gayer. The real question is, why? I have a new theory. If it is true that 12 seconds today would have been 10 seconds in the past before time got fucky. You ever notice how teens and young adults in old movies just look older than a person their age would look today? Maybe it's because their time moved slower. So they actually aged faster / more than we do in what is supposedly the same amount of time. Hence why a 20-year-old in 1980 looked like what a 25 to 30-year-old would look like now, because their time was slower.
Just some ideas for what changed then and since then. Trump's campaign and later his victory, bringing a whole bunch of unpleasant far-right lunatics into the political mainstream which were previously off-limits, for good reason. Severely shifting American and greater Western politics in the process, while the neoliberal and politically rather managerial, centrist and center-right mainstream has been largely unable to really respond to this, while the left couldn't really find itself either. The digitalization of modern Western society aggressively continuing, but more and more centralized onto just a few dozen giant but exceedingly mediocre platforms. In 2020, COVID coming around and ending the 2010s with quite an unpleasant bang. The usual Western cost of living problems and crisis worsening and worsening.
I'm not sure if that was exactly 2016, but yes, this is not the real world. More like some backup version or simulation. Me is 100% real and proofs we are constantly shifting. Check FE. Flintstones. Fruit Loops. And Houston, we have a problem, flip-flops. Time is speeding up. I'm not American, but I always knew their Massachusetts counting method. It used to work. Not it's not. I did a little test with many, even most skeptic, friends. You can do it too. Just tell them to count seconds as they remember it up to 60. At same time start the stopper and compare results. Each time they were counting 10 to 30% slower than real seconds. All of this is just a tip of an iceberg. Everything around us become batshit crazy, but 99% of NPCs can't or don't want to see it. I've slipped into this unconscious habit of thinking to myself, I want to go home periodically through the day, accompanied with a feeling of longing for something I can't name. Weird thing is, it happens when I am at my house / home. I don't know why I think it, I have nowhere else to go. Maybe it's the timeline shift you talk about. Maybe it's that I have always felt like I don't belong in this world. Who knows, but the feeling has only been getting worse. I used to think it was some sort of reality shift, but now I think it is just a natural downshift in society / civilization. We are at the edge before a large and negative event. So naturally weird and bizarre things are happening because that is a symptom of a sick and dying age. The last dying time was the world wars and the depression in between, including the disease outbreaks. But out of that we got relatively good and innovative times. So, We are on another downturn, but it's always cyclical, so after the bad times ahead we can look forward to whatever comes after.